Hey, what's up? Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are on our planet. Welcome to continuation of the live collection tour. So, 2 weeks ago we started. I thought I'd be able to knock out going through over 200 of these 1/6 scale figures in 2 hours. I have no idea how I even thought that that was even a feasible possibility within any type of reality, because it isn't. Started with the Iron Man figures, went through Mark 1 through 26, I believe, in 2 hours. Last week we went through 27 through 50 in 2 hours. So this week we're going to continue on, I believe, with the Avengers shelf. And this shelf represents anybody that is or has been or could have been considered an Avenger at one point or another. And it's just how I have them grouped up. The shelf is way overstuffed. You see it in the picture there if you happen to look at the picture before logging in today. And let's see, what did we see that was new? Hot Toys has announced a new Scout Trooper. So they made one a few years back. And I always thought that was a really cool figure. It comes with a speeder bike. And so now they have a new one of that. There's also been a She-Venom that was made. And I think it's a little modeled after the, not by Hot Toys, it's by another company. I think it's kind of modeled after the comic book line of when Eddie Brock's girlfriend was dying or something to that effect, if I remember correctly. She had cancer, and the Venom symbiote lived in her, or she lived in it, however you want to look at it, to heal her. And I think that's who they're kind of modeling it after, which is cool. Looks like it'll be a great complement to the Venom that I have. What was another one that I've seen that they come out with recently? Something else that I've seen that popped I thought was really nice. There's a Tony Stark from the end of Avengers, I believe it is, where they're meeting on the bridge. I think that's what it's supposed to represent, where Thor's taking Loki back. I think it's the end of Avengers. That's popped. There's something else. Ack. That I didn't want to do. Well, let's move on. I'll just start here on the left-hand side. So this is really in no order in regards to appearance or anything of that sort. It just happens to be people at one point or another that were or could be considered Avengers. So this one is the Black Panther from Civil War. And they did, in my opinion, a really great job with this piece. One thing that they didn't do, for some insane reason, you never really can tell why in the world Hot Toys does what Hot Toys does at times. They didn't include a head sculpt. And specifically in the movie, we see him remove his helmet in the, I don't know if you call it a tunnel. I suppose it's a tunnel. So there was no reason why they didn't. Must have been licensing or something along that line, which I don't understand either, because I'm pretty sure that these guys sign agreements in their contracts over this kind of stuff. So Hot Toys did not make a head sculpt for this figure. So this is a third-party head sculpt. And I don't remember who made it. But I think they did a really good job on it. And I was very pleased to add it to this collection, to this figure. So he is here. So this is the Black Panther from Civil War. And easily I would call him an Avenger. And he looks really good. So it's the first Black Panther. Without the other one being lit up, it's really plain looking. So this one has all the really neat detail that the Black Panther from the Black Panther movie is seriously lacking, because it really is only a detailed character when it's lit up. Now, I would hope that they continue on with the Black Panther pieces. I didn't get Eric Killmonger by accident. I didn't have the money to get it, pay for it when it arrived. So he's kind of fallen onto my list of I needs. Next here on the shelf, we have Black Widow from Civil War. Not my favorite Black Widow character, or appearance in the collection. I would have to truthfully say Age of Ultron is my favorite Black Widow. I have her in the other room. We'll have to go get her in a minute. This one is I have 3 Black Widows, I believe. And she has now become one, in my opinion, that I wish I had every single one of them of. So I tell myself, this is one now that needs to be full on collected. Every appearance of here, from Iron Man 2 up to, of course, the Black Widow movie that's coming out this fall. So this is the Black Widow from Civil War. And like I said, she's just, this isn't one of my favorite appearances of the Black Widow. But to me, Black Widow has become a necessity. I want to collect them all. I catch them all. Next is one of my faves. I guess I want to call it the Spider-Man main character suit from this iteration of Spider-Man. So this is the Tom Holland main suit. Specifically, this is called the Spider-Man Homecoming suit. When you bought this from Hot Toys, they re-released it. I forget what they called the re-release on it, but essentially this suit has been in every movie that Spider-Man has been in. Captain America Civil War, Spider-Man Homecoming, Spider-Man Far From Home, Avengers Infinity War, and Avengers Endgame. So all 5 movies this suit has been in. So you can't go wrong with this suit any way you look at it. And they re-released the suit without all the extra goodies that came with the Homecoming. You could have bought the deluxe suit, which I've got them on over there when we get into the Spider-Mans, which I guarantee you won't be today. But he came with his school jacket and a backpack and all sorts of stuff. And in all truthfulness, if you were to represent every one of the movies, you could buy one and pose them in any grouping to represent that movie, or buy 5 of these to represent each individual appearance of him. And this is how I have him posed. It's a really great likeness of Tom Holland, and I really like it. And it's his main suit. It is his go-to suit. It's a suit that you see him wear, like I said, in every one of the 5 appearances, 5 movies that he's been in. It is his Spider-Man suit. And I'm a Spider-Man fan. I've been a Spider-Man fan most of my life. I discovered Spider-Man when I was a young adult. Matter of fact, I discovered Spider-Man during the Secret Wars. So that tells you more so specifically when Spider-Man and I became acquainted. This is one of the neatest diorama bases I think that they ever gave us. It came with the Age of Ultron, and it's supposed to represent the Stark Tower Avengers Tower, kind of ultronized, and it lights up red. I don't believe I have batteries in it. I might. I think I've taken all the batteries out of everything. Oh, there it is. So if you can see that, it lights up red. So it's perfect to go with the Avengers because it's their A, literally. Ultronized, though. And it was the base for Ultron. So I just display it on the shelf as such amongst the Avengers. Vision. Somebody told me that Paul Bettany got this job when he was like at a low point in his life. He just didn't think he was going to get work anywhere, and he lucked into Jarvis. And when they, from my understanding, when they were doing away with Jarvis and were going to create the Vision character, he lucked into that too. I don't think that he was a shoo-in. I don't think that they had fully intended to transition Paul Bettany from Jarvis to Vision. My understanding, he had to fight for that too. And man, what a blessing I would hope it has been for him, because essentially he's been here from the beginning, just as Tony Stark has been, and he's being able to continue on into WandaVision, which I've not seen. I don't even know if it's out yet. So what a great accomplishment to be able to continue that. So they didn't make but just one Vision. And I couldn't tell you specifically if there was any real differences from the movies of Vision. This one came out with Age of Ultron, and that's as far as it got. So here is Vision. I was really hoping that they would make us a Vision from Endgame. Specifically, and I hate to sound so morbid, but specifically I was hoping that they would have made a grayed out Infinity Stone removed from his forehead Vision. And so I have him holding Thor's hammer, which was obviously a huge discussion in Age of Ultron on whether or not he could do it. And I just love how, so very matter-of-factly, he just reaches over, picks it up, hands it to Captain America, or hands it to Thor and says, more or less, let's get busy. I got a wire in his cape, which allows you to pose it into different positions. I have it draped over the figure stand that holds him up. And I think it's a pretty good pose for him. It tells the story, this Vision as such. And they did a really good job given the appearance there of Paul Bettany as Vision. But it does kind of perplex me why there was only one Vision character ever made. And coincidentally, I happen to have next to him Scarlet Witch. And she's always been standing next to him. It wasn't like I put her there after WandaVision or anything. It just seemed to be the right place for her all this time before I even realized they had a love affair going on. So rightfully, that's where she stands. This is, which one is this? I think this is, the new Avenger, Wanda, Scarlet Witch. The rooted hair, it looks beautiful, but if you don't know how to do anything with it, like I don't, it just sometimes just becomes a mess. And I love the rooted hair, but I wish I knew better how to take care of it. The other thing I never really understood how best to display with these characters were the magical effects or the flame effects, whatever you would want to call them. So hers and Electro, and I think that's it. They don't necessarily go how you would think they're supposed to go on the hands. So I have her in a flight position, and I have it wrapped around her hips. There is how that's holding her up as such. And this is Elizabeth Olsen as the Scarlet Witch. I forget the character's name other than Scarlet Witch. I forget what her name is. She, in my opinion, is probably the single most powerful Avenger. And it's arguable. Everyone has an opinion. But I truthfully think if she were to use all of her powers on you, I don't think there's anybody that could whip her, truthfully. And I remember specifically at the end of Endgame, she was unleashing all of her ability on Thanos, and it was not going to end well for Thanos. All I can say is thank goodness Captain Marvel showed up when she did, because either one of two things would have happened. Thanos would have totally destroyed the Earth as he was unleashing all of his missiles onto the planet, or Scarlet Witch was going to dissolve him into itty bitty little teeny weeny molecules. So that was where that was going, in my opinion. She was really just dissolving him. You have taken everything from me that I've ever loved, or something like that, she says. And I love how Thanos just looks at her, and because he didn't, he's from a different time zone. I have no idea who you are. Oh, that just even torqued her off even more so. Oh. Now, we went over Iron Man, but I'll just bring them over here again. This is the Mark 46 from Captain America Civil War. This is the one I have on the Avengers shelf, and I have him pitted up against Captain America. Cap's another one of those pieces that I always just said, I only need one. That was my opinion. I only need one. I only need one Captain America to tell the story. Just one. And that's no longer the case. Cap is another one, just like Black Widow, where I've come to the conclusion that I need them all. And to go backwards and have to track them down from the first Avenger all the way up to current is going to be a process. It's going to be expensive. So, collecting these figures, it always comes down to what is it going to cost you when you buy it. You buy it brand new when it first comes out, and then it becomes something that nobody wants, and it ends up dropping in price, and you end up overpaying for it then, or do you wait and not make the purchase just to find out that, gosh dang, you should have bought the doggone thing because now it's an $800 figure when you could have picked it up for $220. And that's how that works out. So I have a feeling I'm going to be dropping some money trying to track down all the Captain Americas. And that's nothing that's going to happen anytime soon. I can tell you that as well. With all the pre-orders that I've got coming out, as it is, for the next 2 years, there's no room to add any back figures into my collection. None. Nowhere. So I'm just working hard as I can just to keep the current collection current with what comes out that I wish to purchase or absolutely can't live without at that time. So It makes it so getting these back issues of Captain America and Black Widow and adding back Hela and some of these others that I've had to let go just becomes almost an impossibility as far as things as such go. So that's the kind of the story on that. Let's move these guys aside now. Keep bringing them out here. So on this cap, by the way, I have him posed as such with this figure stand behind his back inside his little jacket. So it's probably not the best way to pose him, but it affords him the opportunity to get into the pose, which enables him to confront Tony directly. So it works for me, and that's how he sits on the shelf in this manner up against Tony. So you didn't really see that in the background. I don't know what damage is happening to the suit. I would hope none, but I'm sure there's something going on there. I have to take into consideration. Probably repose him. Find another way of putting him into that pose, perhaps. So along with Tony's buddy, now we have Rhodes. This is number 4. So one thing I want to point out, and you guys know this already, all the War Machines are numbered with 3 digits. So this is 004. Hammer Tech numbered the first one 001, and Tony just continued on with that. There's 2 002s, one considered the New Avengers one, which was never in the movie. The scene was kind of cut. And then there's the Avengers 1, 002, War Machine Mark II. And then there's the Iron Patriot. All 3 of those are identical. Just paint schemes are different. And then there's the 003, 004, and then we have the 005 from Endgame. This is from Infinity War. And we have the Iron Patriot 2 from Endgame. And I believe there's the, I would hope that there becomes the team suit or the warp, what would you call it? The time traveling suit coming, which we haven't heard anything of. But each time one of these comes out, they just become better and better and better every single time. And I have him posed kind of half on and off the figure stand. So we have him not necessarily standing all the way on the figure stand because he really needed one that's larger to put him all on if you're going to put him in any type of action pose. So, and this works well. And he's got all these really neat things on him. His armament is really cool. And each time, like I said, each time that another one of these come out, I just fall more and more in love with this character. So this is War Machine Mark IV from Avengers Infinity War. Digital camo on the suit. If you remember in Avengers, Captain America Civil War, he broke his back. And to see that he's still able to move about with these suits is a pretty good thing. We hear in Doctor Strange, right before he gets in his car accident, He's asking what kind of cases have come into the hospital. And they make a reference, I believe it's a reference to this, which gives you a time frame of where Doctor Strange is happening. And I think this is what they are talking about on the phone when they tell him what cases they have there at the hospital. And Doctor Strange shrugs this specific case that they explained to him off right before he crashes his car and ends up beginning his path that makes him become the mystical Doctor Strange. I love how they played the name in the movies. Two very funny times is one when he's up against, I forget his name, in Doctor Strange, the one of the other students of the arts who decides to go the other direction. He's introducing himself and he says, I'm sorry I didn't get your name, Mr. And he says, Doctor. And the guy says, Mr. Doctor? And he says, it's strange. And he says, yeah, but who am I to judge? And then, of course, when Spider-Man meets him, he says, hi, I'm Peter Parker. And he says, Doctor Strange. He goes, oh, we're using our made-up names, huh? Well, I'm Spider-Man. I love how they play on that. It's just too funny. Maria Hill. Supporting character that was in every one of the Avengers movies or movies where the Avengers were. I'm so happy that they cranked her out. She's literally just a supporting character, but she's one of those loyal supporting characters that's been in all of the movies. And it's the only time we really get to see just this normal outfit. Even Black Widow's Avengers outfit is different. Phil Coulson's Avengers outfit is different. And what we see Tony when he goes back in Avengers Infinity War, the outfit he's wearing there is a little different. But this is I would assume then, the Avengers outfit. And this is Maria Hill. Some of you may know her from the television series of Doogie Howser, How I Met Your Mother, Neil Patrick Harris. So I don't know how many people have purchased this character, how many of them they actually made. I imagine she's probably along the rare side, or not. I didn't see her sitting around on the shelves long after she was sold. So either one of two things happened. Either they cranked out a normal allocation of them, and everybody and their brother owns one, or they didn't make that many of them, and everybody bought what they wanted, and that's how it kind of ended up. But I'm glad to have her. Automan, welcome. I am doing well. Punisher War Machine. I got it on pre-order. Paid the deposit on it. I hope it's one that's coming out. One thing I always thought was interesting was on their iteration of it, there's no chest repulsor thruster, which is the power plant for the suit. So I don't know how they could justify powering the suit without the arc reactor in the center of it. Doesn't make any sense. I'm missing something here in the story, but it's a go for me, no matter. Yeah, it works good if you're a War Machine collector. It works good if you're an Iron Man collector. It definitely works if you're a Punisher collector, I would imagine. I missed the Netflix Punisher. That's another one that I need to have to be tracking down. I think that bad boy is ranging around $800 or something to that effect for that figure. So one that I'll be chasing for years before I'll be able to get him. That's probably exactly what that's going to be. Well, there's no possible delays. It is the delay. I mean, I haven't gotten a figure since January. We're into April now. Yeah, it's not a possible delay. It is a delay, no doubt about it. I'm happy to see that they've announced newer figures that are coming out. But for instance, the Captain Marvel that they announced 2 weeks ago, I believe it was. I don't have my Captain Marvel. And I ordered the deluxe Captain Marvel, and from my understanding, it's been released. I think it's out in Asia. Some people have received theirs already, and here in the United States, nothing, because of the delays of the COVID virus. So she should have been here. Like, I think she was slated originally to be released last year, which normally you add 2 months onto that for a United States release, and here we are into April, pushing May. Next week will be May, and nothing. So there's a handful of figures: Captain Marvel, War Machine, Punisher. I think Nebula is out also, that we're just not getting. So yeah, it's totally pushed back. And what I'm afraid of is that all these pieces come on the same boat, and then hit the distributors, and I start getting billed for $2,000 worth of figures, and I'm like, I don't have $2,000 to get these figures, and I don't know how the hell that's going to happen. Um, so I'm really nervous about that. So this has been a mess for this whole thing, a huge mess. I pre-ordered Iron Man Mark 85, and it's expected to release in summer 19. Summer, you must mean summer 20. What can I expect? I don't think you're going to see it before Christmas. I've not seen any pictures of it coming out, and so depending on where you are, like I said, here in the United States, we're normally 2 months after the time that it hits Secret Base. So when Secret Base puts it on display, normally 2 months later is when they start contacting collectors here that they are here. That's why some people buy their figures from Hong Kong distributors. And the Hong Kong distributors, from my understanding, the people who buy and sell figures in Hong Kong, there's a different process than the way it is for us. For us, simply go on to your computer, clickety clickety click, and then several months later or several years later, it gets delivered straight to your door or your P.O. box or your business or wherever it is you want it to have it done. And there's nothing you have to do that. In Hong Kong, from my understanding, they have to go to the store and pick it up. And if you've had to do any shopping at Home Depot or anything like that lately since the coronavirus, then you know exactly what I'm talking about, where you have to stand in line to get into the place for 2 hours or more. And that's kind of the process, from my understanding, the way it works there. They got to take time out from their day, stand in line, pay somebody to stand in line or something to be able to go get that figure. And so they're getting it before anybody else in the world does. So now they're going to mark it up. There are collectors in the United States that call that scalping. My answer to you is, if you have to have that figure right now, the day that it's released and expected to be delivered to your front door in a week, you're going to have to pay the extra price for it. You know, it's like if you want the premium box in a theater, you have to pay extra for it. If you want to have the nicer steak, you have to pay extra for it. If you want to have your figure right now, you're going to have to pay extra for it. These people are offering you a service that you can voluntarily agree to or not agree to. Me, I don't spend the extra money for that. So a figure that is slated to be released we're in Q2 right now, which is April, May, and June. So a figure that's slated to be released in Q2, April, May, June, that hits Secret Base, if it were to hit Secret Base right now, they can go pick it up. By the time it comes to the United States, normally, you're looking at June. By the time it comes to me, I have no idea why. I won't see the doggone thing until August. But I'm not paying extra $200 just to get the doggone thing in April. It's not going to happen. I'm sorry. These are expensive enough as it is. I will wait. My name is on one. Not once have I been denied a figure that I pre-ordered. Not one time have I not had the opportunity to pay for a figure that I pre-ordered. I may have to wait a while, but if I pre-ordered it and I follow the rules and pay for the figure, then it gets delivered to me, however long it actually takes. If you can't wait, if you absolutely have to have that figure, there are Hong Kong distributors and people out there that will get it to you, and you're going to pay for it. And I don't consider that scalping. That's a service. Just like if you are a season ticket holder of a professional sports game, or you're not, and you decide, what the hell, I ain't doing anything. Let's go to the game on Sunday, and you decide that Sunday morning, and the tickets are gosh darn sold out. You're going to have to go buy the tickets from somebody who already has one, and people want to call that scalping. They've paid money for that ticket. They're not fake tickets. You want the ticket. If you had enough foresight, you could have bought the ticket weeks, days, months in advance. You didn't. You want it now. You have to have it right now. Well, by golly, you're going to have to pay for that. I don't consider that scalping. They're not denying you anything that you could have got through the normal channels. If you wanted it, you should have bought it earlier. You should have waited for it. But you want it right now. If you want it right now, you're going to pay for it. That's the truth of the whole thing. People get so upset. Oh my God, he charged me an extra $200. Why? Why didn't you get it earlier? You couldn't wait? You couldn't wait 2 months for it? You, oh my God, had to have it right now? I don't know what to say. I have no sympathy for you. I really don't. I don't. If I have to get a figure, now I've been lied to by Sideshow on times. For instance, Neon Tech Iron Man, and Sideshow said, we will not be getting this armor, period. It is not being released into the United States. It's not going to be something that we're going to be distributing out. We will not get the Hot Toys Neon Tech Iron Man. So what did I have to do? I had to contact the Hong Kong distributors. I had to pay extra for it. Then after I get the doggone thing, Sideshow starts selling it. That really torqued me off. I specifically talked to a representative of the Sideshow, specifically was told that we're not going to be getting it, which tells me I now have to buy it from a Hong Kong distributor if I want it. So I paid the fee for that. Then to find out the Sideshow is selling the doggone thing. And I would have gladly had waited. But there are pieces that was the only way you can get Mark 21 Chrome. The only way you can get the Mark 21 Chrome is to go to Shanghai Disney and buy it there. Legitimately. To be the original owner of that figure, you could only buy it at Shanghai Disney. Do you want the Mark 21 Chrome? Hop on a plane, fly your butt to China, get into Shanghai Disney, and buy it. Oh, you can't do that? Then how are you going to get it? Sideshow's not selling it. Nobody else is selling it. It's the only way to get it. Third-party distributor. Scalper, as some people like to call them. Doesn't matter. What's your plane trip going to cost you? What's your pass into Disney going to cost you? What's your visa and passport going to cost you to get into China? Sometimes you got to pay what you got to pay. That was the only way of getting the Mark 21 Chrome, and I paid for that. And I'm very happy to have it. It's one of my absolute all-time favorite figures. It really is. And had to buy it from what some people, John Deek, like to call scalpers. Hop your butt on a plane, fly to China, and get it. What's cheaper? You tell me. What's cheaper? I am going to say, like I said, probably the Mark 21 Chrome. All-time favorite. All-time favorite. Truthful. It's a Mark 7 that's gold painted, chromed out. We talked about it 2 weeks ago. You can see it in that stream. I've made a preview video on it, and I did an unboxing video of it. So there's at least 3 videos with that figure in it. Bucky is another one that I have now decided I need every one of them. This is the Civil War. Pardon me, a little gas here. Captain America's Civil War Bucky. Winter Soldier. Sebastian Stan, I think this is how you say his name. I had pre-ordered the Infinity War Bucky, and again, money just was not there for me to get it. I ended up losing that figure, but he's one that I would like to add. But as I've stated before, the money's just not there to add these figures. So if I miss it, I've got to chase it down later. So this will be one of those lifelong projects, constantly adding figures to there. This is a sculpted hair, and so we're back to the debate of sculpted versus rooted. And this one works as a sculpted hair, um, but I imagine how sometimes people would wish that this had come out rooted. And there are companies or customizers that make rooted hair out of these characters. So if you absolutely have to have this as a rooted hair sculpt, it can be done. It's going to cost you some money. So this is the Winter Soldier, the only one I have. Coffee. Mmm. It'll be down along the shelf. This needs to be framed. Got this on premiere night. Well, regular release night for humans of the Avengers in-game. And I really like it. It needs to be framed. I just have it up there on the wall as it is. Regular poster from, they handed these to you as you walked in to see the movie. I'm really glad to have this. Phil Coulson. Good old Phil. So I bought many of these Age of Ultron figure stands. I bought many Vision Age of Ultron figure stands. All of these figure stands, have in them 4 holes to be able to take one of these flight poses. So I have, obviously, Vision is the only one that it came with it. All right. So you have these 4 holes here that hold the flight pose. Look at all that dust on there. So, but if you happen to have that base that goes into it, you can put it into any one of these style figure stands. The holes are there, they're just covered up with the plastic. So I've bought many of these stands because they worked well on that shelf and just don't have a plate for them. So Phil Coulson came with a regular oval shaped figure stand, but on my Avengers shelf I have everybody standing on one of these style stands. I've thought of going to a trophy shop and having the little metal plates made, just never have done that. And this is Phil Coulson, and I have him holding the Captain America prototype shield when Tony is making that third element, this new element for Iron Man 2. And it's so funny when Phil picks this up, he says, "What are you doing with this?" And he says, "Do you know what this is?" And Tony's like, "Yeah, it's exactly what I need. Hand it to me." And he uses it literally to prop up his accelerator to collide the elements, collide the atoms to make his element. And I thought that was perfect. This Phil Coulson, he comes with all of his little credentials. I think he came with a classified folder as well. I don't remember. But this one is worthy of anyone's collection. No doubt about it. Agent Phil Coulson continues on into the Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. television series. Him and Nick Fury do, one of the few that cross over. And they make reference to the Battle of New York in there. So that solidifies the fact that Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. is part of the MCU. All the dust on these. There's a Nick Fury, and his eye patch is falling off. It's actually become stretched out to some degree, it appears. Having difficulty getting his eye patch back exactly where it goes. So this is from Captain America Civil War, if I remember correctly. I really want the first Nick Fury, and I missed that. Really hard to track down. Samuel L. Jackson. What I really enjoyed about Samuel L. Jackson playing Nick Fury, which kind of shocked me, when we seen him at the end of Iron Man, I was like, holy shit, Samuel L. Jackson's playing Nick Fury. How the hell are they managing that? It became a role perfect for him, and he fit the bill of Nick Fury perfectly. And one of the things that's absolutely trademark, I would say, of Samuel L. Jackson is his motherfucker. You know, if you are paying Samuel L. Jackson to be in your movie, you want him to say motherfucker. Well, in a PG-13 movie, I think you can only say fuck once. I think that's how it works. And so it was so awesome at the end of Avengers Endgame, where we almost get him to say that. You know, right at the very end, Samuel L. Jackson says, motherfucker. And I love it. It's kind of like in the end of Spider-Man, it was Spider-Man Homecoming, when Aunt May finds him, and she says, what the fuck? I love it. So this is Nick Fury. You get with this also the sling, so you can put him in the sling. And I decided not to pose him in the sling. Actually, all these figures need to be dusted. It's crazy how they look, all the dust on them. Absolutely insane. Age of Ultron Hawkeye. And I literally have him posed as such, because I love that quiver. And also we have on the tip of his arrow a little Ant-Man as he's being shot into Tony Stark from Captain America Civil War. So this isn't necessarily an accurate representation of how Hawkeye was portrayed, because this scene didn't happen in Age of Ultron, but it's part of the story of Hawkeye and Ant-Man and the Avengers. And of course, what's so funny is Hawkeye goes into the battle with like 12 arrows and is able to just continually pulling arrows out of God knows where. It'd be interesting to see if somebody had ever counted how many arrows he actually fired in the movie versus how many he brought into the battle. But this is my favorite Hawkeye. I think I know I have Hawkeye / Ronin on order. He'll be coming soon. But I think I have another Hawkeye. I don't remember. Maybe I don't. This is my Hawkeye. I'll dust all these guys before I put them back. What do you think? Sound like a good plan? This is Ant-Man from Civil War. It's a different suit than the Ant-Man movie. And as you can see there, I have multiple scales of him. And I tried to pose each of them into a similar pose to represent him shrinking all the way down to a little bitty ant down there. You see him. There's two little guys down there, one in front of the other. And then a Marvel Select, I think. I wish I had a 1/9 of this, but I don't believe that King Arts made one. And that's the Hot Toys Ant-Man. And we see him become Giant Man in this movie, Captain America Civil War, and I would gladly take a full-scale, accurate reproduction of Ant-Man in this suit as well. I'm guessing he would probably be 6 feet tall, as per scaled. That would make him 36 feet tall in the movie, and I think that's a pretty accurate, close representation of that. So I would gladly drop thousands of dollars, I'm sure it would be, in order to have a 6 foot tall Ant-Man as Giant Man. And we could have him hold, War Machine in his hand as he does, or have Spidey swinging around him, wrapping up his legs. It would be a nice centerpiece of a display. But that will never happen. I've never seen, first off, an accurate representation of a full-size, life-size Ant-Man in the first place. But I think that would work as a 1/6 scale collectible. I think it would really represent the Giant Man, just buying a 1-to-1, if you will, Ant-Man as a 6 foot tall figure. So that's this. And it's so funny because I never took Paul Rudd serious. He just seemed to always be a comedic actor, but that worked well because Marvel has a lot of comedy in it, and I think Paul Rudd pulls off becoming Ant-Man great. And I love how they did the Hank Pym as well. They did both Scott Lang and Hank Pym as Ant-Man, and they've answered all those questions. I would love to have a Michael Douglas Scott Pym. I don't see why not. I think that would be fantastic. Wonder Woman Golden Eagle armor. Because it is so difficult for me to keep up with the Marvel collection and my Astromechs and associated other pieces that I really absolutely love, like Daredevils and the Vampirellas and some of the other, not necessarily Marvel, but part of the story, that I've not collected any of the DC universe. And I 100% love Batman, Superman, Wonder Woman, the big three. Um, Aquaman was represented great by the character. Flash represented great. I just don't have the room/money to collect those. I mean, I've got over 200 figures as it is, just in the Marvel universe and the some of the other things that I collect, like the R2D2s and these Fison figures and the Deadpool universe, which now I would say is part of the Marvel universe. It'd be interesting to see how that goes. And I just can't get those, so I don't have any Wonder Woman. I don't have any Batman, no Superman. And Batman and Superman was my beginnings of comics. I mean, I read Archie and Jughead as a little kid. I read Batman and Superman as a little kid. Obviously, the television series that were out as I was growing up back then. So I have respect and can totally know who and where these characters are coming from. It's just that when it came down to the collecting, Iron Man was the first one that I started getting a hold of, and I just stayed in the Marvel Universe. Spider-Man, truthfully, was the one that I always connected to when I discovered Spider-Man, because Superman is an alien from another planet. He's an undocumented worker. He's an illegal alien who believes in truth, justice, and the American way. And I love Superman, but I can't relate to Superman because I'm not an alien from another planet that's capable to fly and bounce bullets off my chest and shoot heat out of my eyes and cool out of my breath and more powerful than a locomotive, faster, more powerful than a locomotive. Let's see, faster than a speeding bullet, more powerful than a locomotive, able to leap tall buildings in a single bound. Look up in the sky. It's Superman. You know, I can't do that. Same thing with Batman. Batman is uber rich. He's got more money than anybody. He's probably more rich than Tony Stark. If you were to start adding things up, because he's got the old money, plus he's making continual money. And I think probably Batman is probably more rich than Tony Stark. And I'm not rich. I'm not even well off. I spend every penny that I have on these, and it's a quite interesting way of balancing your budget when it's like, gee, do I buy a loaf of bread and peanut butter and jelly so I can buy this figure and eat peanut butter and jelly for a week? Yeah, it happens. So I don't have any of the DC Universe just because they can't fit in the collection, and I don't have the extra money. I'm spending all my money on the Marvel collections as it is. But they look great. Gal Gadot was a wonderful choice for Wonder Woman. Love her to death. But when Spider-Man, when I was introduced to Spider-Man, here's just a normal kid. He's a genius. It's his only superpower, I suppose I would say. But if you were to educate yourself, you could be just as book smart without having to be the genius level. But he suffers from the same thing that every one of us do. You know, all the same ailments and problems with life and being picked on as a kid. And you know, it's what anybody can. I can't imagine somebody that couldn't necessarily associate with Spider-Man in some degree or another. He's us. He really is us. And so that's how he became my guy. And I when I started collecting, Spider-Man wasn't necessarily a sought after figure at the time. I didn't track down the Spider-Man movie, Tobey Maguire figures or the Andrew Garfield figures. I just went in right in on the Iron Man figures. And Iron Man wasn't even somebody that I was 100% that knowledge of until the Marvel Cinematic Universe. I bought all the Spider-Man comics, so I'd be familiar with all the other characters whenever there was a crossover. It's the only time I'd even get an education on the figures, on the characters, because I was buying the Spider-Man comics, and then when somebody would enter into Spider-Man comic, then I would learn of the character in that capacity. So Spider-Man's my guy. He's my gateway drug into the whole thing. Iron Man was the first one I was collecting because he was the big thing at the time, and now I have the option or the ability to channel my love to Spider-Man, which is he's always been my guy. Spider-Man's always been my superhero. So no, I won't be getting any of the DC universe at this point. If later on down the road, you know, I win the lottery and I'm able to buy a house big enough to house all these 1/6 scale figures, I would do the entire DC universe as well. Certainly, sure would, no doubt about it, for a fact. Which now brings us to Falcon. Now, I didn't get the Civil War, I mean the Winter Soldier Falcon, his first appearance. At the time when I decided I was going to get Falcon, I could have purchased either the Winter Soldier version or the Civil War version. Both of them were available at the store. And looking at them both, this one I thought was better looking because of the color that was in it. And we have, what's his name? Red Hawk? Is that what his name is? In addition to that. So you see his wingspan is immense. And vultures would be even bigger than this. Hot Toys teased us with a vulture, a Michael Keaton vulture at San Diego Comic-Con a year or so ago. And that will never happen. We will never get a vulture from Hot Toys. I hate to burst your bubble. It's not going to happen. Juiced Ass Inc. is making a vulture, 1/6 scale vulture. I've gone back and forth on whether or not I wanted to pre-order that. I have not. I hope it's not one of those things that I regret by not getting. but I'm also just as equally afraid of buying it and being extremely disappointed in it. And so I'm really on the fence on that figure. So this is Sam. What's that guy's name? Red Hawk? I forget. So he came on a huge base. So again, I put him onto a Vision base. I think this was a Vision base. I don't remember. But put the 4 holes in it to be able to support the flight pose pole. And that's how he's able to beyond this. And then I drilled a hole for this plastic rod and glued 2 of them together from some other figure that came with a plastic rod, because this guy would have been about that high, and I wanted him up higher, so he sits all the way up at the top. Again, I forget his name. I'm sorry. There he is. All right, so the next Avenger really that I have, I'm skipping how I have them in order here, but our only Bruce Banner. And this would be from Avengers. Bruce. Hulk went through a little difficulty coming into the Marvel Cinematic Universe, I would say. The first real Hulk movie we had, the Ang Lee Hulk, was a disaster. There was so much story of Hulk and his dad, and it just didn't make any sense. And it was all about Bruce Banner. Didn't really get much story of Hulk being Hulk, and it was just terribly done. And it's not even considered part of the Marvel Cinematic Universe. Ang Lee's Hulk is not. Then we get the Incredible Hulk with Edward Norton playing Bruce Banner. That one is considered canon. That one is considered Marvel Cinematic Universe. But Edward Norton decided he didn't want to continue being Bruce. So enter, gosh dang it, what is his name? This guy. So the Incredible Hulk works. He is the Marvel Cinematic Universe Hulk. But Edward Norton isn't, unfortunately. So there's no Edward Norton figure. This is the Hulk that we get. And it's the only one they ever made for a Dr. Banner. So if you're adding a Dr. Banner to your collection, this is it. And you can buy him either singularly or you can buy him as a set. I bought him singularly. I couldn't afford the $800 or $400, $600, whatever it was. Both of them. I think it was $600. I don't remember. So I never picked up an Avengers Hulk from Hot Toys, and I would love to have one. I need to get one. What I do have is a Crazy Toys Hulk, and he works as a placeholder, but he's the wrong color and the wrong size. He's a little too big in comparison to the Marvel Cinematic Universe Hulk. But if you were to fall under the assumption or belief that the angrier Hulk gets, the larger he gets, it works. You know what I mean? But his color's off. He's not the same color as the MCU Hulk. He's a little too green. And he's not as highly detailed as the Hot Toys Hulks. But he works for me. and he was a bargain. I think I paid, I don't remember, 50, maybe $80 for him. I don't remember what he cost, but it's just not the same quality and detail that you get with a Hot Toys Hulk. But this is the only Avengers Hulk that I have. I had the Age of Ultron Hulk, and I have Ragnarok Hulk, and I've got Professor Hulk on order. But in the meantime, this is my Hulk. Hulk Smash. Avengers Infinity War Thor. I have on the Avengers shelf. I have 3 Thors. Avengers Infinity War, Age of Ultron, and Ragnarok Thor. Again, they made a Dark World Thor. Not too thrilled about. And they made an original Thor. Again, I'm not too thrilled about. So I'm on the fence on whether or not I want those. But I wish I had 2 of these. I really do. And I wish I had 2 of the Ragnarok Thors as well. Now this Thor doesn't have a wire in the cape, but you could put one in there if you felt the need to be able to pose the cape. Like Vision has the ability, you can pose his cape. What's nice about this, when you light him up, the chest lights up, and if I remember correctly, I think the eyes will glow if you were to put him into a UV light. Looks really good in that regards. I have him here with Stormbreaker, which has the arm of Groot on it. This is a good Thor. I enjoy having him. So, whether or not you would call Loki an Avenger, it's debatable. Loki is chaotic. He's got a mischief. So he is on whatever side would benefit him at the time, truthfully. So you never really know where Loki stands on anything. And this is a pretty good Loki here, Thor Ragnarok Loki. I really want an Avengers Loki. That's the one that I truthfully really want. And again, it's another one of those on the back shelf. Won't be coming to the collection for years, Loki's. But that would be the one. That's my holy grail, one of my holy grails. So I put him on the Avengers shelf. But I certainly don't think that he would consider himself an Avenger. But he has done good things for them on occasion. But in all truthfulness, like I said, Loki's always out for himself or whatever could provide him the most fun at the time or benefit him the most or just being mischievous. So I have him with the Avengers, though he probably isn't an Avenger per se. That's where he resides here in the collection, is with the Avengers. Now we have Guardians of the Galaxy, which are arguably definitely Avengers. This is Star-Lord from Guardians of the Galaxy 2. But in this iteration, because the beginning of Guardians of the Galaxy 2 literally just continues on from Guardians of the Galaxy by just a very short period of time. This works as Guardians of the Galaxy 1 Star-Lord. And from my understanding, even the head sculpt is better in this one than the other. So I don't feel any need to buy a Star-Lord from the first movie. If you have one, then you've got a good figure, but I missed it, and I was able to pick this up regular price when it came out. So this one is on the Avengers shelf. But I also have a Guardians shelf. And I have one in there too. I do not have a Drax. I need a Drax. I desperately need a Drax. Here's Gamora from Guardians of the Galaxy. And I have Gamora from GOTG2 on order. She should have been here by now. No telling when we'll get her. Probably Christmas. And again, you can see how the hair is just a mess. But I love the rooted hair. And I have at her feet a little baby Groot in the pot. So without Drax, the next two Guardians that I have, you could have bought these individually or as a set. And I bought them as a set. And that's Rocket and Groot. And so this is Groot from the first movie with his buddy Rocket on his shoulder. Thank you, Lemmy. Thank you very much. So there's Rocket up there. I am Groot. So funny. Vin Diesel does the voice for Groot. And that's his line. I am Groot. Or, we are Groot. Right? His entire language consists of 3 words. I and am and Groot. And Thor speaks Groot. As well as Rocket. Now, next one I have on the Avengers shelf, kind of like Loki, it's debatable whether he is an Avenger. I'm calling him an Avenger. Robert, happy Saturday. That's a real Groot. That's a Hot Toys Groot. Sure is. There's a real Groot. I'm Mary Poppins, y'all. Yeah. Michael, his name, Michael Rooker? Michael Rooker? As Yondu. He was initiated into the Guardians of the Galaxy. Welcome to the Guardians of the Galaxy, only he didn't say it in such a nice way. I really hated that they killed the character in the end of that movie. He should have continued on. But, so I have 2 of these. One of them I have him displayed with the Avengers. Because he's a Guardian of the Galaxy. Then the other one I have with him displayed with the new adaptation on a new controller of the arrow. his mohawk. Interesting how they made the MCU Yondu. He's totally different than the comics, but it works 100%. It works, and I'm pleased to have him here. I got him holding Baby Groot in his hands, and of course that scene never happened, but it works. He still has his coat on from what's the name of the organization that he belongs to? Ravagers, right? Which is the same coat that Star-Lord is wearing. But he's an Avenger as far as I'm concerned because he was welcomed into the Guardians of the Galaxy, and the Guardians are Avengers. So he's on the Avengers shelf instead of being a bad guy. You know, he's kind of like Loki. Was he really a bad guy? You know, when you learn the whole story. Sylvester Stallone is a Ravager. Nice to see a Sylvester figure. That'll never happen. So many pieces we'll never, ever get, ever. Period. No ifs, ands, or buts about it. See if we can make some room here. I'm going to have to dust these and set this shelf back up. Got to make some room here to go on with the next figures. So the disadvantage of not having these guys in display cases is the dust. And again, you know, having $100 just to buy a display case, it's one of those things you have to weigh out. Do I buy a new figure? This guy just rolled off. Do I buy a new figure? Or do I buy a display case? And the figures are winning out, obviously. And of course I say to myself, well, hell, I could build one of these figures. I could go buy some glass, cut it, make my own display case. Sure. I could build a car too, and a house, and a rocket ship to the moon. You know how that goes. All right. Jatari soldiers. You could buy these in two ways. You could buy the deluxe figure set, which had two of them in it, and I think one additional weapon. Or you could buy each of these individually, and I think some of these are still for sale, brand new. And I bought them individually and as a set. So I have both iterations of them. And I don't remember which one is the foot soldier and which one is the commander. I think these are the commanders. And I think these are the foot soldiers. I dropped his gun. And again, it's the exact same piece, whether you bought them individually or as a set. But there's a difference between the foot soldier and the commander. I don't remember how this goes on here now. There we go. I'm pretty sure this is the commander. The lighter colored one, or the darker colored one, I mean. And this one I have him with his mask off. One thing they never explained at the beginning of Infinity War was Thanos getting that first stone from Ronan. And I don't understand how that ended up not being part of the story. Maybe when we get the Adam Warlock story, which I have a feeling they're going to be doing, right? We'll get that told to us. But there's a whole group of characters that were part of this whole line that really got ignored or pushed aside. And I don't understand that. Again, I don't remember which one's a commander and which one's a foot soldier. Maybe these are the commanders. I don't remember which one is which. I've got two. So one set came as a set, and then these guys came separately, or vice versa. And I think this was the extra weapon that you had, this long weapon. I don't remember which weapon it was. That was the additional weapon that came only with that piece. Then we had the first iteration of Thanos. Now if I remember correctly, there was 3 people that actually played Thanos, with Josh Brolin totally bringing him to life. So this is Thanos from Guardians of the Galaxy. We see him at the end of the movie, if I remember correctly. And then we see him more, I think, in Avengers. I don't remember. But I don't think either of those were Josh Brolin. I might be wrong. But if I remember correctly, there was 2 other people that portrayed Thanos. And he is out of scale if you were to compare him to Thanos now. But sitting in the chair, he works. It was great at the time. It's still great now. If you wish to have him in his throne, can't go wrong with that. But if you were to stand him up as Thanos, he's just out of scale. And the newer Thanoses are much better for that. So, if you want to have him on the throne, you can't go wrong with this. It's still Thanos. He's still canon. He's still part of the MCU. He's just not to scale. And he came with, what would you call this, a cod piece that is either for seated or for standing. So you would just put whatever piece in front there, however you wanted to pose him. But I couldn't imagine standing this Thanos up. And this lights up. You have little lights underneath here to represent it floating, because that's where we've seen it, is kind of floating in space. Thanos on his throne. So, he's obviously not an Avenger, just as the Chitauri soldiers aren't. But he's really part of the big story, you know? He really is the whole purpose of all of it, truthfully. So he deserves his rightful place in the collection as being, if there was no Thanos, because in truthfulness, all those movies, all 22, 23 movies, whatever it was, are all centered around Thanos. He's really your guy. He's really the main antagonist in the entire movies, out of all of them, truthfully. He really is the guy. He's your troublemaker. He's who we're leading up to all along, is Thanos. So my roof originally is 2x8s turned on their side. So that's a board about yay long, about that thick, turn sideways and all the way down the roof. And then when they built the house in the 50s, they put pitch and gravel on it. So there's just this black tar, and they threw gravel on it. And that's how they built houses back in the day. There's no insulation. There's nothing stopping between these sideways boards right next to each other, and this black tar that was put on top of it and then covered in rocks. So as time goes, the boards swell and shrink, which allow the little pitch and tar and gravel to slip through there. So since then, recently, we've had the roof redone, and all they did was just build a piece over it, which has given us some insulation and some air travel to regulate the temperature in the house better. But the pieces are still there, and there's still tar and gravel that slips through down onto these figures. I mean, the house is 70 years old, and so that's what a lot of this dust that you see on there is from that. And short of entirely ripping the ceiling, roof, the entire process off of the house and having the house totally exposed and putting on a new roof, that'll always be the case, or covering the entire ceiling with stuff. And again, that's all money that I just don't have. I spent all my money on this. So, putting a new roof on the house that we did still didn't stop this problem. So that's what all these little dust and little pieces that you see are the gravel from the roof, believe it or not. So, where are we? An hour and a half? Oh, we got plenty of time. Continue on with Avengers. So that's the Avengers shelf. I have I guess you would say the Infinity War shelf down here that I've kind of created. We already went over the Mark 50. So he's down there on the shelf. Talked about him last week. And that's another piece I wish I had like 3 of. Pose them in different scenes. Another Avenger that I have on the Infinity War shelf is Black Widow. And again, this one's definitely not one of my favorite Black Widows. But she tells the story, and the hair is a mess. I've seen a collector that restyled her hair perfectly, beautifully. And I would love to have her do mine. I would gladly pay her to fix her hair. Oh, I would so gladly pay whatever it is that she would be asking to have this done. I need to track her down. Maybe I could talk her into doing it. Money talks. Which I have done. But I would gladly have her fix her hair. But I love the rooted hair. But it comes with its side effects. And no, this isn't my favorite Black Widow. But she's canon. She's part of the story. And again, as I was saying before, I've now come to the conclusion that I need all the Black Widows. So she is part of that collection. I actually came to that conclusion about 2 years ago that I need all the Black Widows. So it's not like it just came about today. No. I've been saying I've been needing her for a while. Trying to keep her steady here. Turn it around for you. Which soldiers are worse, Chitauri or stormtroopers? Stormtroopers easily. These guys are supposedly cloned after was it Jango Fett? He was supposedly like the best bounty hunter in the world or some shit, all the universe or galaxy or something. And they couldn't hit a freaking. They can't aim worth a flip. Who would win Thanos and Darkseid? Does Thanos have the Infinity Gauntlet? Thanos. Thanos probably wouldn't do the fighting himself. I mean, Thanos is a complete badass. Captain Marvel bested him. All right. Captain America from Infinity War. Bearded Cap. Some people hate him. Of course, he had to come to the collection. Or it went without saying that we had to have Cap from Infinity War in the collection. And came with two different bases. One base you can just put two different pieces on there. Either one that just said Avengers Infinity War, or you can put the rocks on it. And he comes with a dying Outrider, which of course Hot Toys promised us that we would get, and of course we're not going to get one. I hate to tell you that. The neat thing about this, and we get the additional weapon here from one of the Black Order, which confirms that we're not going to be getting a Black Order. If they're including an accessory piece like that, you can count on not getting it. So we won't be getting any of the Black Order, which sucks. I 100% want the Black Order for fact. I really do. I truly want the Black Order. Thanos' children so much want the Black Order. One thing which is neat about this was his shield. He strayed from Captain America's shield as he became this version of Captain America. The shields that we got, you can display them either together like this, or you can display them opened up as it is there. So it's really neat how it does that. You can open it right up. And I went through that on my unboxing video. So you can spread it into a larger shield or the more compact version. Steve Rogers. Again, another one that I've decided in the last couple of years. I really need all the Captain Americas, every one of them. I really do. Need all the Spider-Mans for fact. Gotta chase down Tobey Maguire and Andrew Garfield Spider-Man. That's going to be fun. Thanos. Infinity War Thanos. Josh Brolin. What a gig. He plays Cable in the Fox Deadpool series, which is now Disney, which is now Marvel Cinematic Universe. And he plays Thanos. Two characters owned by now the same franchise. Deadpool's universe is TRN 514 or 415, I think. Earth TRN 514, I think, is Deadpool's Earth. The Marvel Cinematic Universe is Earth 199999, I think. It's either 5 or 6 nines in the Earth that the Marvel Cinematic Universe is. So In all truthfulness, Deadpool is in a different Earth than the Marvel Cinematic Universe, but we know that Deadpool exists in all of them. We know of the multiverse. Truthfully, every one of these guys in one representation or incarnation or another exists in all of the Earths. So we see that as well in the multiverse comic cartoon movie that came out last year. Great movie. Love that. And with the crossovers of all the Spider-Men, it was really, really well done. It would be neat if they could have done a live action of that. But I think they had a lot more freedom doing it as an animated movie. So this is Josh Brolin. And it's so funny in Deadpool 2, Wade Wilson makes comment on Thanos and his nutsack chin, right? So this is the Iron Man hand holding the fist open on the Infinity Gauntlet to keep him from being able to snap his fingers. So that's how we have this displayed in my collection. And so this is properly scaled Thanos. You see how much bigger he is than the others. For instance, I'm going to put Phil Coulson. His first name is Agent. Pepper calls him Phil. His first name is Agent. So here's normal life-size human being, and here's the Titan. Big size difference. The Mad Titan, Thanos is. The Mad Titan. I have the in-game Thanos on order. I have not placed the order for the battle damage Thanos. One problem that a lot of collectors have with this is this shoulder gap here. A lot of collectors hate that. And they've gone in, taken this suit off, shaved down the shoulders of the character, shaved down the shoulders underneath here, just to get this to sit on here perfectly. I don't have a problem with it. But there are perfectionists that have made this fit on there better. It's not supposed to be upraised as such. But I don't have a real problem with it. It works for me. That's my Thanos. Oh, Red Skull. Yeah, I hope you love that figure. I really love my Red Skull. But battle damage Thanos in the chair, huh? Yes, I love my caps. A bearded cap, Civil War in-game cap, and I've got those on order too. Order two of the in-game caps so I could have essentially an Avengers cap. Now, are you with me? If Cap wanted to, he could take you out. Right when Spider-Man was talking about how he defeated Captain America. Yeah, no. If Cap wanted to, he could have taken you out. Tony, and Tony wasn't throwing punches. I don't know. I still think Hulk should have won that fight. It's weird making him weaker. Which fight? Which fight should Hulk have won? The last one here on this shelf, the Avengers shelf. Right? You know who this is. I don't have any better way of posing this cape. The cape has a life of its own. So I have him set on a figure stand. It's so funny, when this piece came, the little metal plate was all ripped off of the doggone thing. The box was all beat to hell. And literally, this came straight from Hot Toys, you know, via Sideshow Collectibles. I just lucked into like the crappiest one on the line that day. So I had to buy a new box because I wanted the box. The box opens up very neat. I didn't buy another base, but the metal on the base is just bent up. So one of the problems I had with this was we didn't get the proper hand to be able to cast his incantations or spells. So I had to make this hand. This hand I had to make. You don't get this hand. And this is where he does this with. He does this with his left hand. He does this spin, which does that. And I'm trying to figure out a way of displaying that. I have this. I suppose one day, when I ever get him into a shelf, I'll put that in front of him. This is from the box. I cut it off of the box. It came damaged. So I have this as well. And so that is how Doctor Strange is displayed on the shelf. And I love the Doctor Strange. I have the arms to go with him. I need to order the Doctor Strange from the Infinity War or Endgame. I forget which one he is. I ordered it but couldn't afford it when it came, so I ended up losing my deposit on that. But I think Benedict Cumberbatch has brought Dr. Stephen Strange to life quite well. But I bought a whole set of hands. I did the same thing with my Hawkeye when, gosh darn it, one of the arrows got lost in the collection. And it fell on the floor, got swept up, thrown away at the trash or something to that effect. So I had to buy a new arrow. So I bought a full-on new set of arrows from that Age of Ultron Hawkeye that I have. So his quiver is more full than it came from Hot Toys, by the way. I don't know if you guys noticed that as I was showing it to you, but there's twice as many arrows in there. I've got it filled up with every single slot in there with an arrow that'll fit, and or the bolts without tips on them. So this quiver is absolutely full of arrows. I kind of didn't show you that necessarily when I was showing you that, but he has more arrows in here than you got when you ordered it originally. So if you have all your arrows in here, you don't have as many as this one has. Let's open it up here and show you, because this is really two of them. And I had to buy it because one of them got lost. So I bought a full new set of arrows and then just put them all in here. And I have no idea what happened to the one. It was on the bow being drawn, and I'm walking to the room here one day, and the arrow was gone. I'm like, where the hell is his arrow? And it's long gone. I tore the room upside down looking for that. And it is long, long gone. So I'll show you all the arrows that are in this quiver. So this quiver is full, totally full. When you bought this, dang it, when you bought this, you also had these little black sticks, or shafts, I guess is the proper word for them, that didn't have anything on them, or just black shafts, just filled it in. Well, I put tips on every one of those. So his quiver is full. So I told you all that to tell you about Doctor Strange. When I wanted his hand to be in that position, which is the proper position for him to be able to do this, I had to buy another set of hands. Just like I did when I was putting the flame effects on the Iron Man figures, buying extra feet and hands to be able to customize them, or helmets. Same thing. I bought extra hands so I could customize that hand. So I have many hands, many Doctor Strange hands, a full additional set of Doctor Strange hands. So I've spent a lot of time customizing that hand to get into that position, shaving down the inside of it to fold it over, gluing it, and I've had to re-glue it probably 3 times because it wants to return back. It wants to return back to its original position, which I think was his hands were just up like this. So I had to bend down these 2 fingers. So I had to cut out this to allow him to fold, and then glue it to that, which it doesn't want to do very good. And sometimes the glue will come out, and the fingers will start bending back up. But that's how that is. The other thing that I had a problem with this was, if I remember correctly, that's the wrong ring. I did some research on it. I don't remember now where I ended up finally coming to the conclusion, but he doesn't have the right ring that he's supposed to have. I forget what they're called. Not called rings, but this is the wrong one that we got provided with. So it works. It's what we have, but it's not necessarily the right ring. Oh, they definitely need to make a Wong. They definitely need to make a Wong, no doubt about it. Let's see. What am I missing in regards to Avengers? I've got the whole Age of Ultron group in the other room. I don't think I'm going to go into them today. Trying to think if there's anything else I can go over here real quick without starting another group of characters. Probably go over the Guardians of the Galaxy 2 figures, 4 of those. Gamora hasn't come yet, and I don't have a Drax. I need a Drax. Badly need a Drax. Badly need a Drax. Oh, so what did I do here? On this Doctor Strange, there's nothing I did with his belt and putting the ring on his belt. That was another kind of a custom I had to do to it, to put that ring there. But you need, when you research the rings, you'll realize it's the wrong ring that he has. And I forget what they're called, but the incantation ring, it's the wrong one that he has. If I remember correctly, I might be saying that incorrectly, but for some reason I think it's the wrong ring. One thing that was impressive about this book, I forget the name of the book. There are like several pages in this book. Unlike when we got Peter's physics page, we have like 2. This has got, I don't know, 10 or 20 different pages in it. Now, there's lots of pages. It's not just 10 or 20 pages. It's filled up with pages. But when you flip through them, you'll go through several pages of different stuff on each page. And they could have done the same thing they did with Peter Parker's physics books and just took 2 pages in there. No matter how many pages you flip in Peter Parker's book, it's the same 2 pages. But this has got many pages in it. I'm pretty impressed with that. So I told you earlier I just bought 2 of these Guardians of the Galaxy Star-Lords, Guardians of the Galaxy 2 Star-Lords. And so this one is him dressed as we see him in Guardians of the Galaxy 2. Little baby Groot on his shoulder. They gave us lots of baby Groots. But I have him with his mixtape in his hand and his headphones on. You could also display the headphones with Gamora. But I love this sculpt. There are several ways you could pose him and outfits you can dress him in that he came with. Several scenes that can be recreated with the Star-Lord from Guardians of the Galaxy 2. Of course, you got to have a rocket. You got to have a rabbit. So here's Rabbit. He keeps telling us he's not a raccoon, and Thor calls him Rabbit. Maybe he's a rabbit. We call him Rocket Raccoon. Maybe we're wrong. How many times has he told us he's not a raccoon? Thor calls him a rabbit. And so do the other Asgardians. Get that rabbit. Maybe we are incorrect. There's a little baby Groot on his shoulder there. Necronomicon. So Teen Groot is our Groot now. And I really like the adult Groot better. I would hope that maybe in Guardians of the Galaxy 3, Teen Groot grows up to be adult Groot. I'm really kind of burned out on Teen Groot. Not much care for him. I want adult Groot. This is Teen Groot with his little Game Boy. Star-Lord's father-in-law is a Terminator. Well, Quicksilver and Wanda are lovers. Not only are they brother and sister, but they're lovers, right? Take into consideration the other movie, television series. Here we are. Yondu. Mary Poppins, y'all. So what I've done here is I took 2 of these ribbons, one from each of the Yondu, and combined them into one longer ribbon as it wraps around his body. And kind of tells a story. Of this arrow traveling about. We see him holding his cloak back to allow it to travel out of its holder on his waist. And it goes up around his head, over his shoulders, across the front of his body, down around through his arm, and then back straight out at you. So I think I did a pretty good job posing that arrow doing its traveling. Turned out well. And I love the, I forget what it's called, this mohawk on here. So I'm under a similar conundrum with Nebula. You know, the only difference in Nebula is this piece is gold. So I'm asking myself, should I buy 2 Nebulas? I've only ordered one, which hasn't arrived yet. But I think I want to get another one, just so I can paint her little head sculpt piece gold to represent Avengers Nebula and Thanos' child Nebula. Right? So I think I'm going to wrap this up. I've had you for 2 hours. Kind of went through all of my Avengers for the most part. I've got some Age of Ultron Avengers in the other room, which we didn't go over. But we'll save that for another week. I think I pretty much touched on the Avengers per se. Didn't get to the Wasp. We'll save her for next week. Didn't do Quicksilver. Save him for next week. Those are a couple of Avengers that didn't make it here in this discussion of the Avengers. Is there anyone else that kind of didn't get talked about that was an Avenger? Peggy, could you say Peggy was an Avenger? Maybe. Is it really that's who didn't make it in this discussion of Avengers? As being Avengers. But I appreciate you guys coming in here and spending your day with me, a couple hours. I love every one of you. My wife is in great spirits. I would like to believe that she's getting better every day. She tells me she's getting better every day. And hopefully this coronavirus will become manageable soon. We'll be able to get our lives back to normal quickly. And hopefully all of you are well from this and aren't in trouble physically or financially. And speaking of finances, I have a Patreon page. You can become a patron. If you go there, the link will be in the description, and a little pop-up will be at the end of the video if you were watching this later. Go ahead and subscribe. You can help me out. Show me that you appreciate what I go through to bring these to you in our discussions. Like, subscribe, share. Give it a thumbs up. That helps out a lot. And thanks for joining me. And I will see you all next week, or sooner if I make a video on something else, but definitely see me next week. Thank you very much for sticking with us. And y'all take care. What was his name? You know, how about Laserface, right? So everything that's coming is coming sometime within the next 6 months. I have no idea when anything is coming. I've got no notification on anything coming. All I can do is look at what's been released in Hong Kong in the last handful of months and know that those pieces are coming, like Nebula and War Machine and Gamora, but I've heard absolutely zero in regards to when they'll actually be here. So we'll see y'all next week. Thank you very much. Peace out. Love you guys. See you on the next video.